Get ready for dictation, please. 5 seconds. Start. After Mr. Gupta's performance, I suppose it will be somewhat like an anticlimax to come back to the bill. But I would confine myself to 2 or 3 points arising directly out of the appropriation bill. Sir, I would like to endorse practically every word of your speech, especially the point in relation to the recent rise in prices and the causes which you attributed to it. I would like to supplement some of the information which has been given by you. There are two particular points which I would like to mention. Over the years, although both the houses have in fact been passing the appropriation bills after the budgetary demands for appropriations out of the Consolidated Fund of India over the whole of the plan periods, particularly over the third and the fourth plan periods, the distinction between revenue and capital expenditure has been slowly eliminated. As a matter of fact, it is now practically impossible if you go through the budget papers to arrive at any appropriate or rigid distinction between revenue and capital expenditure. Sir, another thing has happened. Over the plan period, another distinction between plan and non-plan expenditure has also been slowly eliminated. It is not only, as you referred, the unproductive expenditure has been increased, but in the process of allocation of resources by the central government, either for expenditure for itself or by way of assistance to the states, even the distinction between plan and non-plan expenditure to a large extent has been eliminated. I would refer to a third point. The manner in which the money supply in the economy increases, the manner in which the central government is unable to control the increase in the money supply, there are several facets to it. If you look at the budgets of the states, the budgets which have been presented recently by the states, you will find that out of 16 or 17 states, hardly 3 have presented surplus budgets. The overall cumulative deficit of the state budgets is practically rupees 160 crores. Now, sir, about a year ago, we were told by the Minister of Finance in this house that he was in fact taking steps to ask the Reserve Bank to adjust the overdrafts of the states. Within 3 months after this declaration, in this house, we were told that they had found it impossible to persuade the states to repay their overdrafts, and all that they were able to achieve was a rescheduling of their overdraft debts over a period, a resettlement of the overdrafts of the states over a period. It in fact means that the money supply which was actually injected into the economy by deficit states just remains where it was. I may further illustrate my point by the fact that while in effect previous overdrafts were not actually adjusted, while it was covered up by a so-called expression of rescheduling of debts over a period, we are now faced in this year in which something like 26% rise in prices has taken place, and at the same time something like rupees 160 crores in the deficit of the states. Sir, you referred to the role of the Reserve Bank. I would also like to refer to it. You quite rightly referred to the fact that at the beginning of the busy season last October, the Reserve Bank had laid down that there will be an expansion of monetary supply only by rupees 650 crores. But within 6 weeks of the declaration by the Reserve Bank, something like rupees 450 crores had already been injected into the economy by way of expansion of credit. Sir, I am one of those who is fairly intimately aware of the manner in which operations are conducted by the nationalized banks. I was also connected with the nationalized banks even after nationalization. Nationalized banks, instead of being more rigidly controlled by the Reserve Bank in terms of the Banking Companies Act, in fact are acting practically on their own in whatever fashion they want to. You will be interested to know that very soon after the Reserve Bank credit squeeze was announced, the major parties who were entitled to the advance limit of rupees 1 crore or more in fact ran away with their credit limit by the simple process of transfer to current accounts. We therefore had a situation in which while the import, export and internal trade, which correctly relied upon credit expansion during the busy season from the Reserve Bank, was starved, and I would say that only monopoly houses, those borrowers from the nationalized banks who had credit limits fixed for them prior to the announcement of the credit squeeze, were by this simple process able to get away with funds. Now this directly links with another which you, sir, mentioned, namely hoarding inventories. This process of complete failure of the nationalized banking system to exercise control led in fact to the monies transferred being utilized for building up inventories.